I'm utterly still at the entrance of my parents' suburban home, the warm glow of the late afternoon sun stretching long shadows across the polished hardwood floor. I've come to retrieve my boys after my mother insisted on babysitting them while I wrapped up a work presentation, but the snide comments drifting from the kitchen freeze me in my tracks. Let Claire's kids have their fill first. Eli and Noah can deal with the scraps. My mother, Linda's voice, resonates through the house with a dismissive cruelty typical of someone unaware of being overheard. My sister Claire chimes in with a giggle that sickens me, suggesting that the kids should just get used to it. Kids like them don't need much. My heart races as I carefully step forward, just enough to glimpse into the dining room. My nephews, Ava and Connor, are seated at the table, their plates overflowing with hot lasagna, served on the nice dinnerware my mom saves for special moments. My eyes flick down to the kitchen floor, where my boys, 8-year-old Eli and 6-year-old Noah, sit cross-legged on the cold tile, with bland sandwiches on paper plates, not even sliced the way they enjoy. My dad, Gerald, glances up from his recliner, lowering the newspaper just enough to peer over the top. They need to grasp their place in this world. Time seems to stand still, the atmosphere tightening around me, and I suddenly find it hard to breathe. I observe my boys, their heads down, shoulders hunched, an all too familiar posture of shame. How often have they found themselves in this situation while I was busy working? How many signals have I overlooked? My hands begin to shake, fury erupting within me like a palpable force. Boys, I whisper, barely audible, grab your backpacks. 5 heads whip around to look at me. My mother's demeanor shifts instantly, her lips curving into a bright, insincere smile. Oh, we didn't know you were here. Claire straightens the silverware by her plate with meticulous movements, avoiding my gaze. The boys prefer sandwiches, she lies, and the falsehood hangs heavy between us. Eli meets my eyes, his dark orbs reminiscent of Colin's, sharing an unspoken understanding. No words are necessary, the honesty passes silently between us, tangled with something else that shatters my heart, resignation. Noah struggles to his feet, his quiet voice tight as he asks, "Can we go home now?" Those 4 simple words convey it all. This isn't the first time. Gerald dismisses us with a wave, the newspaper wrinkling. They're fine. Stop being so overdramatic. My mind races to the checkbook nestled in my purse. Just a month ago, I wrote a check for $6,800 for their new roof. The previous year, another $5,000 for Claire's minivan repairs. 9 years of sending checks since I landed my first solid job at 25. 9 years of Colin's gentle caution. They reach out for funds, not for family dinners. The burden of co-signing their $260,000 mortgage hangs heavily upon me. How many times have I defended them to Colin? That's simply their way of expressing love. They're traditional. Now, the term feels bitter in my mouth. Linda approaches with a coffee cup held out like a peace offering. You're always in such a hurry. Why not stay for coffee? Claire jumps into the conversation, feigning nonchalance. It's no big deal. Kids don't care about these things. I brush past them to grab my son's jackets from the hook by the door, noticing how swiftly the boys gather their belongings. Their practiced movements, the way Eli assists Noah with his zipper without being prompted, it's clear they've done this before, slipping away silently, avoiding attention. Gerald's warning of, "Don't create a scene," grates on me as he folds his newspaper deliberately. You're overreacting. Taking a deep breath, I sense something firm igniting in my chest, where doubt previously resided. We're leaving. We won't return until you explain this. Claire's narrowed gaze shows her palpable sense of entitlement hanging heavy in the air. Linda's hands flutter nervously at her throat, panic building as she realizes she's losing control of the situation. Gerald's authoritative posture seems to waver as I stand my ground. Eli grasps Noah's hand protectively, fulfilling a role an 8-year-old shouldn't have to assume. As we approach the exit, my eyes land on the family photos lining the hallway. Years of subtle arrangements I had overlooked before, with Claire's family taking center stage in every image. My family, Colin, the boys, me, always relegated to the periphery, as if we could be cropped out unnoticed. The front door shuts softly behind us, a sound that feels definitive. In the golden light of that late afternoon, holding my boys' hands, a wave of clarity washes over me. This is not new, I whisper, more to myself than to them. I have merely been blind. I tighten my grip on their small hands and guide them to the car, away from the house that has suddenly transformed from home into a place where I've unknowingly financed a slow, uninterrupted crime for years. Later that night, back at home, I perched cross-legged on our bed with my laptop resting on my knees, fingers poised just above the keys. The spreadsheet illuminated in the soft glow of our bedroom seems to glare at me. A digital record of 9 years of transactions reflects my own mistreatment back at me. At that moment, Colin steps into the room, carrying a steaming chamomile tea. He doesn't utter a word, he simply sets it on my nightstand and gazes at my expression. The slight crease forming between his brows indicates his concern without pushing me to speak up. $141,000, I murmur, the figure burning my throat like fire. It's 9 years filled with family crises and fleeting assistance. Colin joins me on the bed, the mattress shifting a bit under his presence. His silence is a kindness I haven't earned after years of brushing off his worries. I open another document, created in just the 4 hours since we left my parents' place. It outlines the times when my family opted out of helping us. There was my emergency gallbladder surgery 3 years back, during which Mom claimed they were too busy to look after the boys. Then our move to a new house coinciding with Dad's back giving out, and Eli's hospital stay for pneumonia, where Claire was worried about her kids catching something contagious. Just then, my phone buzzes with a text from my mother, "You're being dramatic, come back tomorrow." Colin takes my hand, his warmth contrasting with my cold fingers. "Jacqueline," he murmurs, "they've never asked us for Christmas morning, always the afternoon." That simple statement hit me like a truck. For 8 consecutive Christmases, we were always told to arrive after gifts were unwrapped because morning was reserved for their special family time. I'd never questioned why Claire's family was included while ours was omitted. I scroll through my voicemail. Gerald's messages have a familiar pattern, friendly hellos, brief questions, and then the predictable request. "Sweetheart, property taxes have risen again. Just a little boost in your support would be immensely helpful." Support? As if I owe them a lifetime of financial allegiance for raising me. Texts from Claire reveal a pattern I had chosen to ignore over the years, references to those boys instead of naming them, constant remarks about their appearances, like, "Noah's hair is getting so ethnic. Have you thought about straightening it?" Cancellations of planned family gatherings come with flimsy excuses. And then there's Linda, caught between her husband's demands and fleeting moments of guilt. Her messages bounce between guilt trips and rare flashes of genuine warmth, keeping me perpetually unsettled. What leaves a chill in my stomach is seeing Gerald's name still marked as the emergency contact at the boys' school, a form I assumed I updated months ago. Claire's role as PTA secretary suddenly makes sense. She's had access to all school documents this whole time. I shut my laptop at midnight, but sleep eludes me. At 2 a.m., I find myself standing at the threshold of my son's room, observing their serene breathing by Noah's turtle night light. They don't love my kids the way they should, I murmur into the darkness. It's a painfully clear realization that I can't believe I overlooked for so long. Driven by intent, I roam our home, removing framed photographs from the hallway. In one taken at Eli's kindergarten graduation, Claire's kids are front and center while mine are partially cropped out. Another photo from last Thanksgiving captures Noah reaching for a dinner roll as my father's hand blocks him, an unintentional moment that speaks volumes. Colin discovers me as I replace those photos with ones from just our family's camping adventures, beach trips, and backyard BBQs, where the boys' smiles genuinely shine. "It's time to safeguard our boys," he states, taking a tarnished silver frame from my grasp. "They deserve so much more." Tears stream down my face, but something feels different. The suffocating guilt that has haunted me shifts into something sharper, capable of slicing through the ties of obligation I've wrapped myself in. I've been financing my children's rejection, I confess, the words lingering between us like a heavy admission. The next morning, I reach out to Sarah, my college best friend. "I need to share something that happened," I start, my voice steadier than I anticipated. After I finish, silence fills the line for so long that I check if we're still connected. "I've seen it for years," Sarah finally responds. "I didn't know how to tell you." Those simple words, validating that I'm not out of my mind or overreacting, free something inside me. Within hours, support starts to appear from unexpected places. Colin's parents step up with help without hesitation. My coworker Taylor shares resources about racial bias within families, and my boss grants personal days with a knowing glance that hints she sees more than I've ever revealed. By the time evening rolls around, I've initiated my first definitive actions. I've canceled the automatic monthly transfers to my parents, contacted the mortgage company to start the process of taking my name off the loan, instructed the bank to prohibit any new credit that goes under my name, and closed the family emergency fund account I've been managing for nearly 10 years. Each step feels like a bittersweet triumph, the joy of regaining control overshadowed by the painful reality that led to these drastic decisions. My body signals the stress in ways that my mind struggles to comprehend, tension and headaches that start at the nape, sleepless nights spent staring up at the ceiling, anxiety presenting itself as a tightness in my chest. Yet beneath this physical unease, there's an unfamiliar sensation, the solid foundation of a boundary that has been a long time coming and is now finally forming. 2 days later, I find myself staring at my phone while my father's voicemail plays for the third time. His voice echoes through the speaker, filling my kitchen with that familiar blend of authority and expectation. "Jacqueline, there's a banking issue. The transfer didn't go through. Call me back immediately." The truth is, there's no error, only my conscious decision to halt the automatic payments that have drained my finances for years. I hesitate over the delete button, but I choose to save it as evidence. My phone buzzes again, my mother this time, her fourth call of the day. I let it go to voicemail, bracing myself for the message I know will come. Linda's voice quakes as she speaks, a calculated tremor that used to send me rushing to resolve whatever crisis she claimed existed. "Sweetheart, please get back to us. The mortgage payment is due next week. If you don't help, we'll lose the house. How could you do this to us?" Colin watches me from across the kitchen counter, his gaze cautious. "Are you okay?" I take a deep breath, rehearsing the response I've practiced with my therapist. "No mistake, Dad. Just boundaries." The words feel strange yet satisfying, like a dish I've shunned for years only to realize how much I love it. "I'm better than okay," I tell Colin, and I'm pleasantly surprised by how genuine that feels. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and Noah bolts in from the living room. "I'll get it," he declares. "Wait." I call, but he's already unlocking the door. It swings open to reveal Claire on our porch, wearing an expression that's a flawless mask of sisterly concern. My stomach twists nervously. "Auntie Claire." Noah exclaims, genuine excitement filling his voice and making my heart ache. He doesn't fully grasp what's happening yet. Claire steps inside without waiting for an invitation. "Jacqueline, we really need to talk. This has gone on long enough." "Noah, why don't you go finish your homework with Eli?" I say, keeping my tone calm. He hesitates, sensing the underlying tension, then disappears down the hallway. "You can't just show up at my house unannounced," I tell her as soon as he leaves. "I tried your office first," she replies, as if that settles it. "Your assistant wouldn't let me in. Taylor texted me a heads up." "Your sister's here," I told her. "She's in meetings all day." Should I call security? I'd been grateful for the heads up then, but now I feel a surge of anger. "You went to my workplace?" That's completely out of line. Claire dismisses my protest. "Family comes first, Jacqueline. You used to get that." A bitter laugh escapes me before I can rein it in. "Family comes first? Is that why my sons were eating sandwiches on the kitchen floor while your kids had lasagna at the table?" Her face reddens. "You're still overreacting about that," she insists. "Get out," I say softly but firmly. She blinks, genuinely taken aback. "What?" "Get out of my house. Now." Colin steps up beside me, firm and unwavering. "You heard her, Claire. It's time for you to go." After she storms out, a sense of lightness fills the house. Colin orders pizza for dinner, a special treat we seldom have on weeknights. We gather around the coffee table to watch a movie the boys picked. Eli and Noah laugh more freely than I've seen in months, their shoulders relaxed and smiles brightening their faces. Later, after tucking the boys in, I find Colin at the kitchen table scrolling through a barrage of missed calls and messages. Uncle Henry asking why I've turned my back on the family, Cousin Jennifer worried I'm having a mental breakdown, and a notification from the community Facebook group where someone anonymously questions my family values. "You know what I noticed tonight?" Colin says as he slides into the chair next to me. I look up, curious. "What?" "I've never seen you stand this tall," he says simply. Suddenly, tears spring to my eyes, unexpected yet hot, not out of sadness but of relief, as if a pressure valve has finally opened. "I was never the problem," I whisper, the realization hitting me hard. I was the solution they took advantage of. Colin squeezes my hand, encouraging me. "Start writing it all down. Every detail." The journal will be your shield. Every manipulation, every emergency loan, every slight against Colin or the boys. For 9 long years, financial exchanges have been carefully documented alongside the accompanying family responsibilities. The narrative unfolds in stark contrast. Cash flows out with ease, while love, conditional and filtered, trickles back in. When Linda requests a get-together at Copperleaf Coffee a couple of days later, deeming it neutral ground, I agree, but this time, I'm ready. She arrives precisely 15 minutes late, her eyes slightly red, inviting sympathetic glances from the other customers. Her timing is tactful. She's arrived just late enough that my coffee has gone cold and my patience is wearing thin, yet not so late that I might leave. "Sweetheart," she begins, lowering her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "You know how neighbors can be. We're just making things comfortable." I slip my hand into my pocket, hitting record on my phone. "What do you mean exactly, Mom?" Her gaze flits towards the couple at the next table, who feign ignorance. "You know perfectly well what I'm implying. Your boys are wonderful, but different. We help them adjust to that." "Different how?" I ask, my tone unwavering. Linda leans in closer. "Sweetheart, you know how neighbors talk. We're maintaining comfort." "You've already said that." "What does comfortable mean?" A sigh escapes her lips. "It's about appearances, Jackie. We can't control how people perceive us when they see mixed families." I slide my phone onto the table between us, its screen glowing to indicate the recording's activity. "Say exactly what you mean, Mom. I need this on record." Her complexion pales as her eyes fixate on the phone. "You're recording me? Your own mother?" "Yes." "Now clarify what you meant regarding my children being different." Suddenly, she stands up, gathering her purse. "I won't be cornered like this. Call me when you're ready to discuss things reasonably." Colin takes the boys for ice cream while I consult with the financial advisor. Sarah is with me at the bank to remove my name from my parents' accounts. My therapist reassures me about the boundaries I'm establishing, guiding me through the guilt that occasionally resurfaces. When Claire shows up at my office again, my colleagues create a protective barrier. Taylor halts her at the front desk while Diane calls for security. Later, James walks me to my car. At school, the counselor meets with Eli and Noah, offering them a safe space to work through their confusion. "Your boys are incredibly resilient," she shares in our follow-up. "They grasp more than you realize." The invitation to dinner at Colin's parents' home feels like a much-needed escape. Joyce warmly embraces Eli and Noah upon their arrival, her affection genuine and expansive. After dinner, Thomas takes the boys to his workshop, patiently teaching them how to sand wood for a birdhouse they're crafting together. I stand in the doorway watching as Thomas guides Noah's little hands along the sandpaper. "Smooth strokes, buddy. There you go." The contrast with my own family hits me profoundly. There are no conditions, no subtle reminders of difference, just unconditional love, shown through time and care. Joyce approaches me, handing me a cup of tea. "They're wonderful boys," she states simply. "Thomas is incredibly patient with them," I note. She smiles and responds, "That's what family is about. Real family." "What do you mean?" Thomas glances up from his workbench. "Family is defined by actions, not blood, Jackie. Never forget that." The weight of his words settles in my heart. Around these grandparents, my sons laugh freely, ask questions without hesitation, and exist without feeling apologetic. The final meeting with my parents is scheduled for Sunday afternoon. I arrive 20 minutes early, using the spare key they don't know I have kept. The house is silent as I enter, but voices seep from the kitchen. I pause at the entryway, eavesdropping. Jacqueline tends to be so dramatic, Linda sighs. The boys are sweet, but they're going to face challenges in life. Better they learn early on. At least she always returns with money, Claire replies matter-of-factly. She's our safety net. My father's words chill me to the bone. The mixed ones will always be a bit different. It's just how things are. My fingers instinctively locate my phone, opening the recording app as I step into their view. 3 heads whip around, expressions shifting from shock to careful welcomes. I hit record and raise the phone for them to see. Tell me more about the mixed ones, Dad. I'm all ears. Standing in the doorway of my parents' living room, my phone gripped tightly in my hand, Gerald, Linda, and Claire freeze like deer in headlights. I heard everything. And I've got it recorded, I reiterate, my voice more steady than I feel inside. Gerald is the first to recover, his expression sliding from disbelief to nonchalance. You misinterpreted our conversation, Jackie. We were discussing societal perceptions regarding children like yours, not our feelings. No misinterpretation required, I reply, moving forward and placing my leather portfolio on the coffee table. I heard every word you said about my mixed children. Claire's eyes widen as her hand flies to her throat. That's downright unjust. You're distorting our statements. I open up the portfolio and pull out a neatly organized stack of spreadsheets showcasing 9 years of financial transactions documented in clear black and white. I glide them across the gleaming walnut table, observing how their gazes follow the sheets. $141,000. I tap the total marked in crimson. That's what I've contributed to this family since I was just 25, not even counting the mortgage I co-signed. Gerald hardly gives the documents a second look. Family is there to support each other, that's the common understanding. But this isn't support, it's leeching off someone's kindness. The word hangs between us, sharp and unmistakable. Linda recoils as if I've struck her. I produce a typed declaration from the back of my portfolio. I've crafted this for clarity. I'm cutting off all financial support indefinitely. The automatic transfers have already been halted. I'm in the process of having my name removed from the mortgage, though that will take a bit longer. Gerald's face turns a deep crimson. You can't just abandon your family responsibilities. Oh, just watch me. Claire's expression crumples, tears rolling down her cheeks with practiced grace. We never intended it to sound that way. You're misrepresenting our words. I've witnessed this act before, the trembling lip, the quaver in her voice. It succeeded with teachers, boyfriends, and me for years. But not this time. Linda grasps her chest, her voice dwindling to a murmur. Your father's blood pressure can't handle this stress. Is that the result you want? To land him in a hospital bed? You should have considered his well-being before assuming my children deserve to eat leftovers off the kitchen floor. Gerald's tone turns icy. I can only imagine what Colin's employer would think about these so-called family obligations. Mental health significantly influences job performance, you know? The threat lands hard, like a punch. Colin's job at the university means the world to him. Claire picks up on my moment of hesitation. It might be prudent to call child services. Family instability is a red flag. Linda nods, grave and serious. Pastor Williams just asked about your family last Sunday. The church community notices when attendance drops off. Their coordinated strikes almost throw me off my feet. For a heartbeat, I'm 8 years old again, wedged between Claire's accusations and my parents' united disapproval. Suddenly, the front door swings open. I hear Colin's footsteps resonating through the hall. He appears next to me, tall and sturdy. Wordlessly, he sets his phone on the table and hits play. Gerald's voice fills the air. The mixed races will always be a bit different, it's just the way things are. Claire takes a breath, shocked. You were both recording this? Threats won't alter our decision, I reply softly. For the first time, Colin joins in, his voice steady yet resolute. Our children will not be subjected to this again. I collect the spreadsheets, placing them back inside my portfolio. No funds, no interaction, no exceptions. Gerald stands, pointing at Colin. You're behind this all. You've turned her against her family. Colin remains unmoved. Jacqueline makes her own choices, always has. The realization dawns slowly on my father's face. His usual techniques of division and manipulation won't work this moment. We're united. Linda reaches for my hand, but I step back. We're finished here, I declare, zipping the portfolio shut with a sense of finality. 2 months later, Sarah calls me with updates from her cousin who goes to my parents' church. They missed their mortgage payment, and the bank has sent notifications. I feel nothing but a dull throb where guilt once resided. The following week, Claire's husband Tom contacts Colin. They're repossessing Claire's car, and she's been reaching out to everyone for loans. Colin shares this with me over dinner, gauging my response. How do you feel? He inquires. Like I can finally breathe. 3 weeks after that, we learn Gerald attempted to play on community sympathy during their church's potluck. His narrative backfired when he mentioned my supposedly ungrateful desertion to Pastor Williams, who started probing why I had pulled my support. A month later, Tom walks out on Claire after he uncovers hidden credit card debt under his name. Their suburban illusion crumbles swiftly without my financial backing. I watch all this unfold from a distance that grows increasingly comfortable with each passing day. My therapist is the first to notice the change. Your shoulders don't seem to rise up to your ears anymore, she observes during our weekly session. That night, Colin slides into bed beside me, his hand finding mine in the dark. You're smiling more. You managed to sleep through the night. Do I? It's been weeks since I heard you grinding your teeth. Eli's questions about his grandparents have become less frequent. His nighttime anxiety attacks, which I had never correlated with visits to family, have diminished. Noah's drawings evolve gradually. The dark scribbles that once worried his teacher start to become brighter. Stick figures now hold hands, beaming wide smiles. At work, I discover my voice. I start speaking up in meetings without rehearsing each word. My boss notices. Your presentation to the executive team was outstanding. We're looking at you for the senior management role. AGT. It's something I never aimed for, as unexpected weekend family crises took up the spare moments crucial for my career growth. One June Tuesday night, Colin lays out vacation brochures on our kitchen table after the boys have gone to bed. "What's this?" I inquire. "Ideas for summer trips, just the four of us." I hesitate, bracing for the familiar tightness of anxiety. How will my parents react if we don't see them? What excuse can I give Claire? This time, though, the tightness doesn't appear. Instead, I feel an unusual buoyancy in my chest as I look over images of beaches, mountains, and lakes. "The boys would adore that waterfall hike," I say, pointing to a vivid photo. Colin's smile gradually widens. "For tickets, then. No family discount necessary." I lean into his shoulder, feeling the calm rhythm of his breath. "Just us." "Just us," he echoes, wrapping his arms around my waist. The burden I've carried for so many years continues to lift, one obligation at a time. I slam the phone down more forcefully than I meant to, my hand shaking. It's been 5 months since I severed financial ties with my parents, yet the calls are relentless. This time, Linda's voice carried that rehearsed tremor, the one crafted to hit right at my guilt. "We can't survive without help, Jackie. We had to sell the house." The mental image of their sprawling suburban home, which I co-signed for, flashes in my mind, now replaced by a 2-bedroom apartment, as Mom tells me. A part of me experiences a twisted satisfaction. Yet, the heavier part feels the familiar weight of obligation pressing down. Colin places a cup of tea next to my laptop silently, his gaze inquiring without words. "They've moved to an apartment," I confess, wrapping my fingers around the warm mug. "Mom says they're scraping by." He nods in response with a blank expression. "We've been through this scenario before." My phone buzzes with a message. "Claire, you got what you wanted. Happy now?" Mom wept all night. They had to sell Dad's coin collection to cover rent. So spiteful. The word sears into my mind. Spiteful. As if enforcing boundaries equals revenge. There's a family gathering this Sunday. I tell Colin as I browse through Claire's follow-up texts. Aunt Patty is hosting. Evidently, I'm the hot topic these days. "Are we going?" Colin inquires, his voice steady. I shake my head. No way. Yet Claire ensured I'm aware they're collecting funds at church for Mom and Dad's medical expenses. The air quotes feel juvenile, but they're essential. Dad's blood pressure has become their favorite leverage point. Colin sits beside me at the table, his presence reassuring. "Your father called me yesterday." I snap my head up. "What? Why didn't you mention this?" I wanted to see how things unfolded. He stretches his long legs under the table. He suggested he might fight the mortgage removal, mentioning something about legal options and family duty. Cold fear spreads through me. Can he do that? No. But he believes the threat will sway me. The doorbell rings, startling both of us. Through the front window, I spot Claire's silver SUV in our driveway. "What now?" "I'll get it," Colin says, giving my shoulder a reassuring squeeze as he walks past. I hear their voices at the entryway. Claire's is sharp and tight, while Colin's is low and measured. Then her heels click against the hardwood as she follows him into the kitchen. "We need to talk," she declares, skipping the pleasantries. She looks gaunt, and the designer purse on her arm appears less new than usual. Financial reality is clearly sinking in. "Then speak," I say, not offering her a seat. Her eyes narrow. "This has gone on long enough, Jackie. Dad's doctor said his health is deteriorating because of stress. Mom can hardly sleep." "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not." Claire tosses her hair back. "You're punishing them because you can't face the truth." "What truth?" I ask, leaning in. "That as those boys grow, they'll be seen differently by the world. We were preparing them." My fingers clench under the table. "By feeding them on the floor while your kids used the good china?" "That was a one-time thing." "It wasn't." The certainty in my voice halts her. "And we both know it." Claire straightens, switching tactics. "Mom says you're stressing Dad to death. Is that your aim? And when your boys are older, I'll be sure they know precisely why their grandfather passed away." The threat hangs thickly in the air. I sense Colin stiffen beside me, yet he remains silent, allowing me to confront my sister. "Anything else?" I ask. Her eyes dart between us, probing for weaknesses. Finding none, she snatches her purse. "Everyone knows what you're doing. Everyone at church. Even the neighbors. They all see you for who you really are." After her departure, the urge to relent, even just a little, to lend them some money, almost overwhelms me. The role of the fixer calls to me like an old habit. Colin's hand covers mine. "They survived before your support. They'll make it through now." I nod in agreement, even though the words carry the weight of 2 decades of ingrained beliefs. That night, during a fierce thunderstorm, Eli crawls into bed nestled between us, his tiny body curled against my side. As the storm calms, he stays awake, his mind swirling as he often seems wiser than his 8 years. "Mom," he whispers, "is it because Dad's black?" The question strikes me like a punch to the gut. In the soft light of the night, I notice Colin freeze on the other side, his eyes wide yet unreadable. "Why do you ask that, sweetheart?" I force out. Eli fidgets with a loose thread on the blanket. "Grandpa told Connor that kids like me and Noah have to work twice as hard because of our dad." Truth sits heavy on my tongue, contending with the urge to protect. I glance at Colin, whose sorrow is plain even in the shadows. "Yes, my love, some people possess narrow views, even those who should cherish you." Colin's hand finds mine across our son. "Even Grandma and Grandpa?" Eli's voice is tiny. "Yes, even them," I affirm. "But that's their issue, not yours, which is why we don't see them anymore." Later, once Eli drifts off, Colin and I share a quiet moment at the kitchen table, our voices hushed. He opens up about years of sly remarks, backhanded jests, and how my father would refer to him as Jacqueline's husband rather than by his name. "I didn't share everything with you," he confesses. "You were already caught in the middle." This revelation cements a belief growing in me for months. We are making the right choices. 6 months after the initial fallout, Colin returns home with some unexpected news. "Your father called. He wants to meet for coffee," Colin says, his expression careful. "Just me." They choose a neutral cafe downtown for this meeting. I spend the hour pacing the kitchen, startled when the door finally opens. Colin's face reveals nothing as he drops his keys on the counter. Your father apologized, he states. I blink, convinced I must have misheard. For what, precisely? For how he treated me. The boys, he replies, shaking his head, dazed. He's been reflecting since they downsized and admitted he's ashamed of some things about himself. The following day, Linda calls, her tone devoid of her usual manipulation. We'd like to try family counseling. All of us. We were wrong, Jackie. We want to rebuild, not for financial gain, but for family. Doubt floods my heart. The money is gone, I say firmly. Love my children or stay away. Those are the only conditions. I understand, she responds, and for the first time, I feel she genuinely might. In the months that follow, my journal, filled with incidents, turns into a vital tool for our counseling sessions. Financial documents illustrating exploitation rest in a folder on my desk, kept for protection rather than use as a weapon. Recordings capturing instances of their racism linger on my phone, unplayed yet preserved. Gerald joins a local unconscious bias group, surprising everyone, including himself. Linda weeps during our third session, a raw and ugly display of emotion I've never witnessed from my normally collected mother. I was raised with these ideologies, she confesses. I want to change. Claire's progress is slower. She attends but speaks little with her defenses high. Yet by the third month, even she begins to recognize the harm inflicted. We gather for dinner at a moderately priced restaurant to celebrate 3 months of counseling. For the very first time, everyone pays their own bill. No sidelong glances in my direction when the check comes, no sudden restroom trips when the server approaches. As I observe my father explaining baseball rules to Noah across the table, I realize the power dynamics have shifted for good. Not through revenge, as Claire once accused, but with truth and boundaries that should have been set long ago. As we exit, Linda takes my arm, thanking me for granting them another opportunity. I nod, still hesitant to fully forgive, yet acknowledging the journey we've begun. It's not about me, I tell her, watching my sons stride ahead with their grandfather. It's for them. They deserve grandparents who see them, every part of them. She follows my gaze, a newfound understanding blossoming in her eyes. I lean back in my chair at Riverside Grill, a cozy restaurant infused with warm lighting and a hint of rosemary. A year has slipped by since that pivotal day in my parents' kitchen when everything transformed. My eyes glide across the table, watching Gerald listen intently as Eli animatedly describes his latest art project. So then, I mixed blue and yellow. Eli explains, his hands dancing in the air, and my teacher said my trees looked just like the real ones outside. Gerald nods, his eyes crinkling with delight. That's talent, buddy. Maybe you can teach me how to paint trees sometime? This question is straightforward, with no ulterior motives, just a loving grandfather eager to connect with his grandson's enthusiasm. Nearby, Linda leans in towards Noah, showering him with engaging inquiries about his baseball season. Did you really catch that fly ball by the fence? Noah's face lights up, his posture full of confidence rather than anxiety. Coach says I've got a knack for tracking the ball. At the kids' table close by, Claire's kids and my boys are swapping jokes and French fries, enjoying each other's company with effortless camaraderie. There's no power play, just joyful cousins relishing their time together. The atmosphere perfectly reflects that first dinner, family gathered around delicious food, but everything feels different now. Noah enthusiastically shares his science project award, completely at ease and not seeking approval from us. Eli narrates his stories without that anxious glance I used to notice, checking for our engagement. Gerald turns to Colin, asking, "How's the new project, the Sustainable Housing Initiative, coming along?" Colin dives into the details, and Gerald's follow-up questions show he's truly invested in the conversation. Linda is a whirlwind of attention, shifting effortlessly between her 4 grandchildren, helping Connor with his napkin one moment and complimenting Noah's drawing the next. Claire catches my gaze from across the table, and the air of entitlement that once surrounded her has transformed into a warm gratitude. She has a full-time job now, and her sense of accomplishment is evident. When the bill arrives, everyone instinctively reaches for their wallets, no discussions needed. The days of financial strain and hidden obligations are behind us. "I've got mine," Claire declares, sliding her card to the waiter. He brings us separate checks, having learned our routine from our frequent visits. Later, as we gather our belongings, Colin leans in close. "You seem taller now," he whispers, his breath brushing my ear. I squeeze his hand tightly. I've finally recognized my own worth. Outside, in the parking lot, Linda pulls me aside while the others help the kids into their jackets. "Losing your support was the best thing that happened to us," she remarks, her voice steady with the strength of hard-won understanding. "It opened our eyes to what truly matters." I nod, aware that our monthly family therapy sessions continuously reveal surprising growth, especially in Gerald, whose efforts to confront his biases run deeper than any of us anticipated. Linda and Colin's mother now meet regularly for coffee, sharing tales about their grandchildren and exchanging recipes. Claire is progressing too, albeit at her own pace. The drive home is calm and soothing. In the rearview mirror, Eli whispers something that sends Noah into a fit of giggles in his booster seat. Colin's hand reaches for mine over the console, his touch familiar and grounding. "The best investment I've ever made," I whisper softly while watching my boys in the mirror, was showing them that respect isn't for sale and love isn't conditional. Colin's grip tightens as I steer us toward home, toward the life we've constructed based on honesty rather than compromise. In the back seat, my sons laugh uninhibited, free from the expectations they should never have had to bear. And in that joyful sound, I hear our success.